All
Oh,
right, there we
putting it
go.
on YouTube? Okay.
Yeah, because we're just reading the book and we're not doing any, people may do some little practices if they're going to, whatever, but uh, we'll just read the book and talk about it, and I think it'll be helpful for everybody all the way around. So, so I'm just gonna put that up now, and my mouse will cooperate. There we go. Share. So we're reading Nonviolent Communication, The Language of Life or Language of Love by Marshall Rosenberg, uh, PhD. We could say that. And all right, and I think I've got it kind of big. It might be a little too big. I don't know.
Well, looks good.
Okay. All right. So giving from the heart of nonviolent communication. Who would like to start the reading? And I will put up this so I could see.
I'll read for a little bit.
Great, thank you, Gloria.
Okay, so it says up here, what I want in my life is compassion, a flow between myself and others based on a mutual giving from the heart. Marshall Rosenberg, PhD. Introduction. Believing that it is our nature to enjoy giving and receiving in a compassionate manner, I have been preoccupied most of my life with two questions. What happens to disconnect us from our compassionate nature, leading us to behave violently and exploitively? And conversely, what allows some people to stay connected to their compassionate nature under even the most trying circumstances? My preoccupation with these questions began in childhood around the summer of 1943 when our family moved to Detroit, Michigan. The second week after we arrived, a race war erupted over an incident at a public park. More than 40 people were killed in the next few days. Our neighborhood was situated in the center of the violence, and we spent 3 days locked in the house. When the race riot ended and school began, I discovered that a name could be as dangerous as any skin color. When the teacher called my name during attendance, two boys glared at me and hissed, "Are you a kike?" I had never heard the word before and didn't know some people used it in a derogatory way to refer to Jews. After school, the same two boys were waiting for me. They threw me to the ground and kicked and beat me. Since that summer in 1943, I have been examining the two questions I mentioned. What empowers us, for example, to stay connected to our compassionate nature, even under the worst circumstances? I am thinking of people like Eddie Hillesum, who remained compassionate even while subjected to the grotesque conditions of a German concentration camp, as she wrote in her journal at the time. I am not easily frightened, not because I am brave, but because I know that I am dealing with human beings and that I must try as hard as I can to understand everything that everyone ever does. And that was the real important import of this morning. Not that a disgruntled young Gestapo officer yelled at me, but that I felt no indignation, rather a real compassion, and would have liked to ask, "Did you have a very unhappy childhood? Has your girlfriend let you down?" Yes, he looked harassed and driven, sullen and weak. I should have liked to start treating him there and then, for I know that pitiful young men like these are dangerous as soon as they are let loose on mankind. Eddie Hillesum in Eddie, a diary, 1941 to 43. Should I go on, Lynn?
Sure. Yeah, I think just reading along is probably going to be good for a while.
Okay, let me know when you want. While, stu-
Okay.
while studying the factors that affect our ability to stay compassionate, I was struck by the crucial role of language and our use of words. I have since identified a specific approach to communicating, both speaking and listening, that leads us to give from the heart, connecting us with ourselves and with each other in a way that allows our natural compassion to flourish. I call this approach nonviolent communication, using the term nonviolence as Gandhi used it to refer to our natural state of compassion when violence has subsided from the heart. While we may not consider the way we talk to be violent, words often lead to hurt and pain, whether for others or ourselves. In some communities, the process I am describing is known as compassionate communication. An abbreviation, NVC, is used throughout this book to refer to nonviolent or compassionate communication. NVC, a way of communicating that leads us to give from the heart, a way to focus attention. NVC is founded on language and communication skills that strengthen our ability to remain human, even under trying conditions. It contains nothing new. All that has been integrated into NVC has been known for centuries. The intent is to remind us about what we already know, about how we humans were meant to relate to one another, and to assist us in living in a way that concretely manifests this knowledge. NVC guides us in reframing how we express ourselves and hear others. Instead of habitual, automatic reactions, our words become conscious responses based firmly on awareness of what we are perceiving, feeling, and wanting. We are led to express ourselves with honesty and clarity while simultaneously paying others a respectful and empathetic attention. Paying others a respectful and empathetic attention. In any exchange, we come to hear our own deeper needs and those of others. NVC trains us to observe carefully and to be able to specify behaviors and conditions that are affecting us. We learn to identify and clearly articulate what we are concretely wanting in any given situation. The form is simple, yet powerfully transformative.
Okay, I think we could stop there for a minute. What do you guys think? Has anybody got any thoughts or comments about anything that's been read so far? And please feel free to put your hand. Brooklyn, yes, please, my dear.
Namaste, mighty companions. You know, it's just saying, be authentic, come from love. I spoke with my brother who is in the hospital, and he said that he really messed up. Like he, he told them he doesn't feel safe coming home and blah blah blah, and he wants to come home. And I said to him, don't second guess yourself. You're authentic. They're working with you. Don't, it's okay to say what you feel. Yeah. Yeah, this is authenticity and coming from love. NVC, I think. Yeah. And willing to be able to, spot what's not authenticity and love. Yeah. Observe carefully. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brooklyn. And yeah, he says this is the normal and natural way for the Son of God to communicate with
Mm.
with the Son of God, basically. This is the normal and natural way for us to communicate. And but it's not something that we learn. I sure didn't learn it from my family or from school or from any E- even people who told me they love me, I didn't learn a language of non-judgment and love. I learned a language of judgment and trying to control other people's behaviors and try to control my behavior and all kinds of stuff. So because I really needed this. Rafi, please go ahead.
The synchronicity here is a little amazing. I just got off the phone before I uh, linked on with this. I just got off the phone with a cousin of mine who I haven't spoken to in months and months and months and months and months. He's an older man like I am, and I said, "What's up with you?" And he started to go on and on and on about all his physical maladies and all his visitors to the doctors, and then everybody else he knows that's having trouble, that got divorced, and then the husband this and another one got married, and then a week later the husband died, and he was just going on and on. My mind wanted to keep interrupting him and making him stop talking about all that stuff, but I wouldn't let it because he needed to express all of this. And what's the difference? So I let him go on about it and just occasionally said, uh-huh, uh-huh. So he knew that, somebody was on the other end of the line. But I let him do it because what would have been the point of me interrupting him and changing the subject? That would have been manipulation. There would have been no compassion in any of that. There would have been no loving attitude in any of that. And so I just let him do it. And then when he was finished, I realized he was getting close to this guy. I said, "I'm sorry, I can't continue this conversation, but I have a meeting at 4 o'clock, and it's getting close to that now. And I love talking to you, and I'm sending you all my love, and I hope that we can talk sooner than later," and ended it that way. But when I hung up the phone, it occurred to me that what I had done was non-reactive and coming from a place of listening and receptivity. And now you use the word compassion, and that kind of fits too. So the synchronicity here is exquisite. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, Rafi. I love that. Mickey, please go ahead.
Well, I was inspired after what Rafi said. Um, and it's such a fine line. I know that a lot of course teachers and students say, don't let anybody go into story. And there are times when, like Rafi experienced, where somebody is just talking about world of form stuff to the point where our ears want to close up. And how do we discern? I think that's what the course talks about discernment for, is that I'm curious as to what everybody in the group thinks. How do we discern when to shut up and listen and when to tell somebody not to go into story? So
Uh,
just throwing that out there.
I don't think there's any time that you should tell people not to go into story. Unless like you and I have made some sort of a uh, deal that I'm here to help you experience your Christ mind, and you're here to help me experience my Christ mind.
Mm,
And so, and I appreciate your help in keeping me from falling into story. But if I
yeah,
haven't made that agreement with you, and you haven't made that agreement with
yeah.
me, then that could be very easily seen as an attack.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think that's the
just
key, is that if you're mighty companions and you both do the course and you've agreed that you don't want to do that any longer. And I see Glorian said follow your inner guide. Yeah. I've heard people just flat out cut other people off, but usually it's in a course group where people have im at least implicitly agreed that they're not going to do that. But yeah, I think it can be a minefield out there, especially when we're talking to each other and we're all doing the course, and people have, you know, been misunderstood and gotten upset. And yeah, It's not easy.
Well, and
Yes.
the important thing though here is that um, we have a lot of work to do to learn to really listen, to truly hear what the person is saying. Person may be going into a story, but that's not what they're really saying. You know, they're talking about something that has maybe some deep meaning to them that's affected them in some way, that they have a lot of feelings about. We're going to learn about a lot about feelings. They have a lot of needs that are not being met, because that's one thing that Marshall tells us is, you know, it is a tragic expression of an unmet need when people are going off into story and going off into this and that. So they're already not getting what they need from you or from me. So for me to even, you know, comment on that, unless, like I said, unless we've said, you know, let us uh be in allegiance with each other, that we're going to help each other to not go into story. And even then sometimes, because when a person is in their fields, when you're having a lot of feelings about things, then any amount of um correction is going to be seen as attack. It's just impossible for it not to be. When I'm up in my feelings, don't start telling me, "Hey, remember the course says love holds no grievances. So why are you holding a grievance?" Hey, screw you. That's what I'm going to be saying because I'm up in my feels. So until we get until we get to where we actually can communicate without that kind of um, expression of judgment, correction. Believe me, I make a lot of mistakes in that particular area, and you all see it and know it. It happens all the time. But I don't really, when I'm in that place, I don't really want to have people telling me, well, yeah, but the course says you shouldn't be judging, or, you know, hey, that's not going to help me. So it's getting to listen and really hear what's going on with the person and have empathy for them, and with them, to the place where they become comforted and calm enough that they're going to be able to actually listen, or even become aware of it themselves. They'd be saying, "Oh my God, look what I did. Look what I'm thinking." You don't have to say a word, because they will recognize it themselves when they get in that place. So, this is the whole thing here, is to teach us to listen and to um, connect on the level of needs and feelings. So I think we'll see how that works as we go along. But great example, Mickey, and thank you for bringing that up. And I hope that answered at somewhat, where we're going with this. Rico, please go ahead.
Good evening, family and friends. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. I send you love and light from my heart to yours. And I'm so glad we're on this topic. First of all, Gloria, thank you for reading. What you read really, really, really resonated me twofold, although there's only one of us, twofold. I love the compassion that the young woman had for that soldier. I didn't have that experience. And I love the fact that we're doing this for the last couple of years with about that compassionate heart and what comes with it in terms of communication. I wish I could have had a compassionate heart when I was a young boy, but I didn't. As a little boy, one year we had to go to Puerto Rico for my mother's side of the family, and the other summer we'd have to go down south to my father's side of the family. And as a little boy going down south, I saw things that little boys used to see. I mean, shouldn't see, like people being hung and having fire hoses and dogs, biting at us and sicked on us. And I did not have a compassionate heart for a long time. So having that coming from that experience personally and studying with you guys the last couple of years about compassionate heart and now talking about the communication which comes with that, I really, really feel gifted. I really appreciate you in this topic based on where I came from. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rico. I just love that so much. And yeah, I have a little, I can't know what you experienced going to the South with your family. But I do know when the first time I was married, I married an African American man, and he was from South Carolina, Beaufort.
Oh,
South Carolina. And we went and spent time with his family and traveled around throughout North, South Carolina and also Georgia. And, we got run out of towns. We've had, I had uh, where, we were driving from one place to another, and the sheriff came out and said, "Get out of my county." And we had to get out of his county, and as we crossed the county line into the next county, the next sheriff was there waiting for us. And it was nighttime. He had obviously come out of bed because you could see his pajamas sticking out the bottom of his pants. And the sheriff had called him, told him, "Get up, go get these people out of your county." And they ran us three, they tried to arrest us. We had to use the colored restrooms at the gas stations, and I mean, I could see that was horrific. There was a time when, and of course, because we were an interracial couple, and it was in 1969, and that was not a good time for that. Um, I didn't, I really didn't expect that. Even in Canada, we were even in Canada at a hotel, like a Marriott or something, and someone stuck a note under our door that said, "Watermelon man, get you out of here with your." I'm like, what? What's happening? That was a world I was not prepared for, didn't really understand, and obviously still cannot even imagine living like that every day of my life. But Rico, yeah. I, I could just, have so much empathy for people in that situation. It just breaks my heart. Um, anyway, we did divorce after we were married for 3 years, but uh, it was he. It was not because of anything to do with that. It was just basic incompatibility. Um, we tried real hard to make it work, but it didn't. Anyway, Rafi, please go ahead.
Before you go, I want to say
Yes.
the Holy Spirit had something for me. He knew he was setting me up to meet people like you. So it's it's all different. Regardless of, I mean, people haven't changed. I have.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you, brother. Yeah, Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, in that conversation I had with my cousin, who was going on and on about all the travails in his life, the only thing my mind picked up was every time he hit a positive note. So every time he hit a positive note, it registered. And toward the end of the conversation, I fed that all back to him. I said, "It's great that the doctor said that this has improved well, and your cholesterol is really well under control, and this is happening, and your stepdaughter's come to live with you, and you're both happy with that." I picked out all the positive notes in it that he had kind of slid by, and that's the stuff that stuck with me. So that's the stuff I repeated back to him. So toward the end of the conversation, he was just being fed back all the positive stuff that he said that he didn't realize that he had said. Mm. And you could hear the change in his attitude. And then, of course, I had to end the conversation because I wanted to link on to the Zoom thing. But I didn't realize I was doing that until after after I'd done it. And I thought, if I'm going to be on automatic, then positive and loving is better than negative and beating yourself up. So I was just very grateful that's how it unfolded. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Oh man, that's awesome, Rafi. I love that the whole idea, because yeah, you were not, you were helping him to see his own goodness. You were helping him to see the grace in his life, because you were seeing it for him. And what a wonderful thing that is to be able to do that. And gosh, it would be so much nicer if we all did that. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Rafi. Um, Marcy, please go ahead.
Hi there. I want, oh, try to get my video on, which is not cooperating. Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about that. So Mickey had, if I heard the question right, in terms of, oh yeah, you answered it pretty much, Lynn, but I have not, I have not, I don't think we need to solve something for people. I don't think we need to, I think we need to hear what somebody has to say, even in a course group. And I've been in a group for 30 some odd years that it's just, I don't think I would have been able to get this far without it, because I had so many little traumas coming up here and there, and and I always have a story, Lynn. You know, I always have a story. I can't help myself. So just being able to sit, if somebody can just sit with me and just welcome the fact that I had a story to tell, and maybe offer some, I guess I don't feel the need for a course answer as much, although I love to hear what like Ken has to say and what the course has to say. But to feel that connection with somebody is worth so much more for me.
I agree with you completely. Let's see, is that somebody talking at your house?
Yeah, Mark.
Oh,
Well,
that's,
you
that's all
have
right.
to deal with that because that's just how life is here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't want to have to. I was looking to see if I needed to mute somebody, but
No, you don't. Yeah,
that's
yes, you
okay.
do. I'd love to. And
But yeah, sure, Marcy. I know especially if you've been studying with people for a long time, and but it's a kind of different thing to be what in like an empathy circle,
Mhm.
which is kind of something that we're going to learn about how to and just how to share empathy without judgment and without an opinion,
Yeah.
just to be here in the heart with each other. um it's a wonderful thing. And yeah, I love your stories, Marcy.
Oh,
There-
thank you.
there's always something, because you're just a lively, active person. And there's always the garden thing, or the dog
Yeah.
thing, or the kid thing, or the
Yeah.
there's
I did want to mention briefly, after I brought up the thing about my daughter's bedroom.
huh?
Um, I think I was just upset and frustrated. But what I did one day was I went in and I saw this mess, and I just said, you know what, today I'm going to do something that's different than what I thought I had to do, which I thought I had to pull the computer out and do all this, that, and the other. And hey guys, can you just talk softly, please? Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Uh, yeah. So anyways, where was somebody tell me where I was?
Went in your daughter's room and you
Oh
just
yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was tons of glasses, tons of bowls, tons of food sitting in bowls. And I just, you know what? I was like, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm just gonna get even. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna get mad, but I am gonna take these things out of this room because it's inappropriately sitting somewhere where I can't deal with that. So I brought it in the kitchen, and when she came home, I said, you have some work to do in the kitchen. I said, I'm sure you're probably not thrilled that I did what I did, but since I'm in the parent role, I can go into a room and I can move something that I don't like. And then I actually took some sticky tape and found some mouse poop here and there. So I stuck all the sticky tape and the mouse poop together so she can see what's happening in the room. and we had, I mean, she wasn't mad at me, and she had a suggestion for like closing off some areas in the floorboard or whatever it is that she thinks they're coming through. But it actually worked out okay.
I love that. I love that, Marcy. Yeah, and because you were the one who was upset about it, so
Right.
why not do something about it? And then, and it's such a loving way to do it. I love that, Marcy. It's yeah, I know. I raised three
Yeah.
teenagers. And now they're raising their own, and so
Yeah.
they know. But yeah, that's wonderful. All right.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else they want to share before we go on to read, uh, continue reading? And who would like to read?
I'm willing, Lynn, and you, when to stop? This is Deb.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And I start as NBC.
As NBC, yes.
As NBC replaces our old patterns of defending, withdrawing, or attacking in the face of judgment and criticism.
Could you get a little closer to your microphone?
Yep. We come to perceive ourselves and others as well as our intentions and relationships in a new light. Resistance, defensiveness, and violent reactions are minimal. When we focus on clarifying what is being observed, felt, and needed, rather than on diagnosing and judging, we discover the depth of our own compassion. Through its emphasis on deep listening to ourselves as well as to others, NBC fosters respect, attentiveness, and empathy, and engenders a mutual desire to give from the heart. We perceive relationships in a new light when we use NBC to hear our own deeper needs and those of others. Although I refer to it as a process of communication or language, the exchange of
Yeah,
compassion,
compassion.
NBC is more than a process in a deeper level. It is an ongoing to keep our attention focused on a place where we are more likely to get what we are seeking. There is a story of a man on all fours under a street lamp searching for something. A policeman passing by asked what he was doing. Looking for my car key. He appeared slightly further. Did you drop them here and follow the officer? No, I answered the man. I dropped them in the alley. Seeing the policeman's back of expression, and hastened to explain the police. I find that my cultural conditioning leads me to focus attention on places where I'm unlikely to get what I want. I developed NBC as a way to train my attention to shine the light of consciousness on places that have the potential to yield what I am seeking. What I want in my life is compassion, a flow between myself and others based on mutual giving from the heart.
Okay, can we just stop there for a second? And I'm not sure why your mic is a little warbly, but I think this is really essential here. What Marshall has said is that he he found that his own cultural conditioning led him to look for things in places where he wasn't likely to get what he wanted. And he developed MVC as a method to train his attention to shine the light of consciousness on places that have the potential to yield what I am seeking. And that's really, isn't that what our intention here with A Course of Miracles is to shine the light of our consciousness on places that are likely to give us what we need, what we're looking for. And so when I want compassion, then that flow between myself and others is what I'm looking for. And I love the little story about the man looking for his keys. I've told that story many times too. Brooklyn, please go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. I don't know, songs are coming to my mind. Looking for love in all the wrong places. That's why, yeah. Thank God we're looking in the right place now.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's our intention, is to look for it where it is, then we're going to find it. Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, two things. One, fortunately, before I get involved in any situation, I release first so that there's no sense of lack of control or wanting to be safe or wanting approval. All of that's out the window. So I'm coming from a place of quiet and peace and loving. The other thing was examples that I was taught when I was a child. My mother taught us kindness. My father taught us respect. And that just stayed with us, stayed with my brother and my sister and I for all of our lives. And it became, it's an automatic thing. My father used to say, treat everybody with respect, treat everybody the same. You don't know what they're going through. Boy, does that help when you're in traffic and somebody wants to cut you off. Stop and let him in. You don't know that he's not running home because he's got a sick kid or something, or he's a doctor on his way to an operation. You have no idea what's going on. And so always give them the benefit of that. And my mother, kindness first. That was the first rule. And that stuff, we weren't preached at, we were shown it by example. And then, fortunately, like I said, I got, in addition to all of that, is the releasing. So if something is going on, and right away, ego agitation comes up, the first thing I go is, okay, what want is this? That's wanting, you want it different than what it is, you want to control the situation, you don't like it, you're feeling present. Okay, let that feeling go. Or you don't feel safe, or you're wanting their approval and they're ignoring that. Let go of the wanting approval. You want love? Love. You want compassion? Be compassionate. The simpler you keep it, the better it works. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rafi. And yeah, I mean, it's something that we all know. And here's the thing that I think is not really understood by most people. Course of Miracles students, I think, have kind of a leg up on this because when I recognize, even subconsciously, that I have cut a brother off, I am not loving a brother the way that uh, that the brother that love is or should be for that brother. You know, when I am judging or denying or any of those things, it hurts me. I become I know that I've done something that is not loving, not kind. You know, you learned it from your family, you learned it from your church, wherever you learned it from. You know, you grew up with this heart of compassion. And when I'm not compassionate, it hurts me. And this is when we feel guilty. This guilt, this guilt that is it just is natural when I'm not love when I'm acting with a lack of love to one of God's creations. And so, you know, this is the reason people are so sad, so afraid, so upset all the time, is because you may not recognize that, you know, when you saw somebody on the street and you thought, you know, they're just a bum, or uh, something happens in the news and you look at it and get, you know, angry with the person that did this or that, that's hurting me too. You know, when I do that, that's hurting me too, because I'm acting with a lack of love to my brothers. And that makes me feel guilty. And that guilt is something that is just uh, unless I bring it up and look at it, I don't even know that it's there. But I just know that I can't stand that jerk because he makes me feel bad. But he makes me feel bad because I'm judging him. And when I'm judging him, it hurts me. So this is another thing here that as we learn to do this, we become less and less judgmental of our brothers and our and circumstances, and become more and more open and gracious and loving. And then, it naturally makes us happier. You just become a happier person. Rico, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, just real quickly, I wanted to comment on my sister from another mister, Miss Brooklyn, on her song "Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places." I've been experimenting, and since I've been introduced to you guys and hanging out with you guys, um, if I be the love that I so desire, I don't have to look for love. The right things will come towards me. And I'm not talking about romantic love, I'm talking about agape love. If I can be that in my actions, my behavior, my attitude, the right things come towards me. So I don't need to look for love anymore.
Who's gonna come looking for you? I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Rico. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? Uh, I'm just going to read a little bit more, and then I'm going to ask Brooklyn, who tells me she has 3 poems now. If you will feel comfortable sharing them with us, I would love to hear them. But I'm going to read a little bit more until we get to a good stopping place here. So Marshall said, let's shine the light of consciousness on places where we can hope to find what we're seeking. This quality of compassion, which I refer to as giving from the heart, is expressed in the following lyrics by my friend Ruth Biebermeyer. And this is Marshall sings this song. It's very, very sweet. I never feel more given to than when you take from me. When you understand the joy I feel giving to you. And my giving isn't done to put you in my debt. Because I want to live the love I feel for you. To receive the grace may be the greatest giving. There is no way I can separate the two. When you give to me, I give you my receiving. When you take from me, I feel so given to. This is a song called Given To by Ruth Biebermeyer. And what he's saying here that's so beautiful is that when I can receive from you, then you receive from me. You can't give a hug if someone's not going to take a hug. You someone's going to have to give you back a hug for that hug to work. So you can't give you can't have one without the other. That's why giving and receiving are the same. As essential purpose of A Course in Miracles to teach us that. And here we're learning that from nonviolent communication. Sharon, please go ahead.
When I see this, like, there's no way I can separate the two. When you give to me, I give you my receiving. When you take from me, I feel so given to. I have the experience with children more than I do anybody else. Now, the thing that I have to walk around with now is a mind, because I haven't done that. And the whole time I've been practicing, unless I'm listening to like Ken, and then he says, remember your mind. But with children, I don't do that because it's the essence. The essence of a child is just, they don't hold back. The authenticity is they're vulnerable. They allow themselves to give you a hug. And the child mind, which is what we have inside us, the child within, it's been fed for this mind since I've been a child myself. I would always have joy if I could give my friends something. And I went on, I have 2 younger sisters. They're quite a bit younger. One is like 8 years younger, the other one's 10. And what I found joy with, because the house was very chaotic that I grew up in, but my younger sisters brought me so much joy because the giving and the receiving was right there. So then I went on my whole life saying, yeah, I want to be an art teacher, but I want to work with children. And now I'm 70 and I have this little class on Saturdays and they're like 6 and 7. And if I tell you that you would think that I'm all lit up, we do projects together, and I feel that joy that I had as a child. So spirit has been working with this mind since I'm a child. And I had to learn the lessons and I'm still learning until I'm not in the body. But what I feel about when I see adults, even if I'm looking from the screen of the ego, usually the ego, it's never been as difficult as it is now, because as I go into layers, the deeper layers are somewhat what I would call the lower chakras. And that's where a lot of the fear is there. So I feel as though every time you go into a place, you're in an experiment of where are you at now? So I'm training myself to just remember through spirit that I'm mine, because if I think I'm just the awareness, just this joy with adults, because adults would be the kind of things that I'd want to fix. If somebody's upset, I want to find a solution for them. And now being in this process now, I realize that they don't want anything but unconditional love like children. You see, if I can behave like that with children, I can behave like that with me. Like when I'm with the children, I don't think of my faults. And what happens is we have like a snap period, like a lot of people say I don't charge enough, but I wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it because it's time that I spend totally in love with every one of these kids. Like, and their mothers are like, my God, Sharon, they feel so good around you, because it's not really, it's spirit that's really doing that. And yet with adults, my ego just goes, well, she shouldn't have done that. And that's something I'm watching, because the mind, as we go deeper, at least for me, it gets tougher. And I love what Rafi had shared about the approval, because I've had safety, approval issues, like all those three things are the very things that unconsciously are what's spinning the mind. And I see that. So it's safety, approval, and what's the other one again?
Oh, approval, control, and safety.
Control. That's one of my biggest. Like my mother would just say, call me when you get there. I don't want to worry. Like she was very, very scared. And she put, all four of her girls in a place like I didn't want to scare my mom, because my God, her head would be out the door and then she'd get crazy. But the bottom line is this is all for us. If I sit there and say control, safety, approval, that's one of my biggest problems. We all want to be liked. We don't want to be disliked. But how many times have we felt disliked? Well, it's our mind making that up. But to look at the fact, where is that little girl in me? That's the way I look at the child mind, because that's the part that just maybe wasn't fed enough. And it's the part of us that's holding on for more because it wants so much to change our person. And our person could never change because our person came in with a script. So the only script is just say, I just want joy. And once you say that, usually things will show up. So it's been very good for me to listen to this tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sharon, and I appreciate all that so much. And yeah, it's just, being able to just be with somebody without having an opinion about them. And of course, little children, it's so easy to be with them without having an opinion because, you don't doubt their motives.
Right.
Adults is a little different. You tend to have opinions about adults and think that they have a motive. So, it's coming to the place where we don't even try to think about that. That unconditional positive regard is the thing that you have it with children and we have it with we have it with everyone.
We have to
That
have it with animals. I mean, not have to, but I do have it with animals. I just feel they're the most authentic. And I guess there's a fear when I meet adults sometimes that they won't like me, where children have always loved me, but the me isn't even there. So if we are all the infinite consciousness, if we are spirit, if we are all God, well, just the son of God, because we're not God, creator, and the creation are one, but we still want to give the power over the creator and be humble and say, really, what would God say? What would God do? And it's hard unless the readiness is there, because, the way I'm seeing it in the very beginning of the course, it was very easy for me because everything in my life was easy. I didn't have any. And then as I went deeper, my son had issues, and then all the issues started.
And this is all for me. That whatever happened with my story that was so horrific to me was really a way for spirit to show me what I was believing, because they're not even out there. So it's just like, to me, you're not, the ego thinks we go to the course and we do well and we're okay. It takes a while. And I always say that it is really a process. That's all. Anyway, I'm
It
sorry
is.
when I put in.
That's quite all right. That's how we got here. Was that it was a process, and we can just as easily get out using a process as well. And that's what we have here, and so grateful for that. Rafi, please go ahead.
Yes, in regard to the children, I have been volunteering to read for children in grade schools for, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 years now. I introduce love into the curriculum right away. First day I'm there. They feel safe. They feel loved. I walk in a classroom or walk across the playground. I get gang hugged every time. They come after me in waves and hugging because they know it's safe and they know it's okay to express the love that they feel. And they express it vigorously and continuously. And it goes on and on. And it gets to the point where there is nothing else but that. And I just wanted to, commiserate with her that with the children, they're in that safe place and they know love is the primary, then that's what you get, because that's all there is. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafi. Yep. Yep. I believe that children are our future. So Brooklyn,
I want to hear Brooklyn.
unmute yourself and let us hear what's been going on.
Namaste. Namaste, mighty companion. My beautiful mighty companions. Thank God for us. My brother is, he either has dementia or something else, but he changed totally. He's in a psych unit at a hospital, and this came on quickly for all of us. And thank God, Holy Spirit helped me figure it out, figure things out. I titled this Sweet Philip. I feel our touch beyond the body. We know the blessing beyond what suffers. This plane so dense rips our costumes, tears the heart in purification. Love is now the real. Pain, fear, in us so long, comes up strong for its departure. Pseudo placenta falls away. Realized breath deepens more. In trust of arms that's safe to rest. Screams of pain, false placenta in birth, breathe through the force while here in content. Labor of shoulds, pushed up front, gut-wrenching vomit no longer held in. Light of essence blesses all. Connection is just love's gift. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Light of essence blesses all. Oh, girl.
Yes. Thank you, Miss Brooklyn.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. And yeah, prayers for your brother and prayers for you and everyone who's involved in it. We know that Christ is here. And no matter, what appears to be happening, it's part of our dream. And I'm just so grateful that you're here to share it with us.
I'm so grateful that I can share it. One thing has been happening that I'm really grateful for. My family has never been this close.
Yep, that's exactly what happens. As we come together, we remember what's important.
Yeah.
No matter what seemed to be happening before, we remember what's important. And well, we're here for you, and you know that.
Oh, I love us so much.
I know, I love us too. All right, you guys. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share before we close out?
Before we go, I got to ask Rafi. Rafi, you got to teach me how to make them hearts fly like that. Sometimes I'm feeling it, but I can't make them fly.
There's a button on the bottom in the middle, the one that you click on to raise your hand.
Yeah.
Above that, there's a series of things that you can find, and one of them has a heart. If your
Okay.
screen isn't on, you get one heart. But if your screen is on, you go to the next level above that, and there's hearts, and there's a thumb, and there's a smiling faces, and a bunch.
Hey.
You got it?
Yay!
Opa. Vaya.
I
Gracias, mi
love
hermano.
it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I haven't never done that really before either. Mickey, yes, please go ahead.
So I just want to let you guys know that I'm going through a little bit of a thing. Today is the 1 year anniversary of my brother leaving his body. And it's, I know we're not bodies, and I know he's still with me, but I just gotta say, I'm feeling feels today.
God bless you, Mickey. We love you, and
I love you, Ricky.
Thank you.
that
for
is
sharing.
so hard.
Nikki, welcome that feeling. Don't fight with it.
No, I
Don't try
don't.
to push it away. Don't try to distract yourself from it. Welcome the feeling and love it. Okay? Grief is there to be released, and it shows you how much love there is.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to grief. I love you, grief. I love you. I love you. I love you. And now I choose to let you go. Okay?
Thank you, Rafi.
The love never goes anywhere.
No,
Because that's reality.
yeah. No, it just shows how much we cared for each other.
And if it
That's
does go somewhere, Mickey, I'm always right here. You got a big hug right here.
Thank you, Rico.
Here too.
Thank
for
you,
all that.
Brooklyn. Thanks.
I love you guys.
I love you.
All right. Thank you everyone for being here with us tonight. And we will start again next week. And we'll move through this book. I think it's going to help us a lot, actually. And I'm grateful for Marshall. So, all right. I love you guys.
Love
Thank you,
us.
Mickey. How you doing, Dove? Good to see you, brother.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. Everybody have a beautiful night unless you have other plans.
Yeah. That's all.